Hello guys. Welcome to Diablo the Primordial. This video is the continuation video after Xian and Adelman in trouble. So if you have not watched it, then please watch it. The link is in the description. And please check out my second channel Top Anime Sensei for the light novel of Tensei. So without any further delay, let's start. But before we start, please like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates. If that's the case, this won't even be a fight. It's starting to feel like a joke trying to take this seriously. This can't be. I'm not believing this. Xian drew her sword as she shouted. Impossible. Xian was trying to calm herself down by telling herself, he must be bluffing. There was no way she was going to accept the fact that a giant just moved to such close proximity of herself without her even managing to see it happen. Accepting this fact was almost equal to accepting her defeat. Xian activates her unique skill chef, and using its matter-altering properties, she boosts her own stats. With her body which has high immortal properties, Xian manages to contain the power which surpasses the limits of what normal beings can handle. Having reached the output range of an ultimate skill, Xian unleashes a single attack with everything she had. Xian was planning to defeat Dagruel with this very attack. This is bad. The anti-monster barrier on this peripheral wall is going to get blown away with that attack. Gadra shouted, as he gets the elite guard to retreat. Even as she was confirming what was happening at the corner of her vision, Xian went ahead with her slash onto Dagruel. Dagruel didn't even move. And, at the very moment Xian's blade was about to make contact with his head. How naive. He roared. With enough fighting spirit to shake his surroundings, that pressure alone stopped Xian's swing. Because of his incredibly dense fighting spirit, Xian's attack didn't even manage to so much as touch Dagruel's skin. He was every bit of the monster the rumors made him out to be. Wah! Xian's eyes were wide open due to how surprised she was, and she stopped moving for a brief moment. And, Dagruel wasn't so kind as to miss out on such a critical opening. It looks like it's still too early, for someone of your caliber to stand before me. With that as his final words for her, he moved towards Xian at speeds she could not perceive and swung his fist down on her. The peripheral wall crumbles, to the might of his violence. What happened to Xian, who took a direct hit, was obvious. This was not something that could be called a fight. This was what could be seen as an absolute being making use of his strength to sweep away an annoyance. But, at that moment, looks like you're the one who is naive. With the sweet scent of roses, a red streak of light flashes and makes contact with Dagruel's head. From there, descended a silver-haired girl. Wearing a jet black dress, with gold and silver heterochromic eyes which show her shining resolve. Demon Lord Rumina's. This was the very moment the ruler of these lands joined the battle. People like you usually show openings at the moment of triumph. As it was a problem for me to break through your defenses, I was observing the situation and letting it pan out, waiting for my opportunity. Looks like you were careless, Dagruel. Don't think too badly of me, and take a little nap there for the moment. As she has said herself, Rumina has been observing the situation from the very beginning. She understood that her chances of victory were low, if she were to face Dagruel head-on. Rumina properly understood the limit of her own abilities, so she didn't think her actions were underhanded. To fight the battle which she knew she could win, that was her way of life. She unleashed her most devastating attack, on the careless Dagruel. As Rumina was someone who had access to an ability which controlled life and death, it was an attack that had the full intention of slaying her foe. Which was also why. Fumu. So it's Rumina's, huh? And you are right, that I had been careless. But, could you really say that has been a problem? Did that attack actually damage me? Those words caused her to freeze up. Rumina was a knowledgeable being, she properly understood what those preposterous words meant. Which was that Dagruel was unharmed. This event manages to prove a single fact, that. Are you all done now? Now then, it's my turn next. Brace yourselves. Or it will be over in an instant. As they have not been able to defeat him even with Rumina's attack, it was a fact that Rumina's forces would be unable to attain the victory. A period of despair was beginning. On these lands, the absolute tyranny of Demon Lord Dagruel was about to sweep across the battlefield. The battle between Albert and Grassword grew more intense. Because each of the commanders were fighting, the chain of command ceased in its functioning, as such, the troops fell into disorder. However, such a matter was a trifling issue for the commanders in question. Both of them had recognized the other as a worthy opponent and were enjoying the battle. Kaka. Quite the skill you have there, you amazed me. To have a chance to cross swords with a person like you, it is a great honor as a warrior. This is not by my skill. Only by the equipment which was given to me by my master Rimuru, that have granted me such strength. If it was with my former equipment, I would already be defeated without being able to so much as endure the pressure of your sword. Albert calmly turned aside Grassword's praise. It was true, however it was only by Albert's ability that the power of the god-grade equipment was drawn out. No need to be humble. Amongst the giants, there are only a few who can fight me. Although we were going to do a pincer attack on Demon Lord Rumina's army with the angels, the situation is now beyond our control. However, defeating one of the enemy generals is also an important duty, since there is no lack of opponents. Yet, still, my younger brother Fen really picked the short straw. Even though he was this precious opportunity where he can rampage as much as he wants, he received a weak magician as his opponent. Certainly knowledge is wonderful, as a person that man may have a favorable impression, however. Because we have magic nullity, a magician is utterly useless. He exclaimed so whilst brandishing his great sword. He planned to make Albert, who was worried about his master, become agitated by his words. A small mistake would lead to death. It was an excellent tactic to induce unrest to the mind of his opponent. On the other hand, Albert, without changing his expression, "It seems you are clearly misunderstanding something. Certainly, I, as the guard of Adelman-sama, am the one in charge of the vanguard. However, I would like to ask you to not forget this. Adelman-sama, as one of the 12 guardian lords of Rimuru-sama, is far stronger than me. You understand what that means, right?" He said that and denied Grassword's words. Grassword muttered, "Ho." Then he suddenly raised his sword over his head without speaking further. His strategy to provoke his opponent seemed to have failed. Then, in that case he will just beat him from the front. Grassword decided on such a plain and simple tactic. Fu, is that so? In that case it's good that Fen will truly enjoy his battle. Oh well, then I shall accomplish my duty. And so the intense sword fight restarted. Their clash reached the climax. Before long the two paid no attention to their surroundings, focusing their minds only on their swords. Being thrown to the ground, Adelman felt that his consciousness was about to disappear for an instant. He could understand exactly what had occurred. He was able to see the moment the enemy had jumped, matching the timing of the activation of his magic. Adelman prioritized the incantation of the great magic in order to overturn the situation of the battle. Even though he could invoke the magic without the chant, it was limited to the image of what he had experienced before. As for the great magic that he was about to use, he considered that chanting was necessary in order to invoke it successfully, once he had ascertained the situation. This reasoning came about because he wanted to use his recovered energy effectively, especially since, after he had invoked the great magic at the beginning, he had kept on invoking spells one after the other. That was why he thought that it wouldn't be amusing if the magic incantation that he had been working on was interrupted part way, so he focused his concentration on the invocation of said spell. He had decided such only because he was confident with his defenses against physical attacks, yet the enemy's ability seemed to have surpassed what Adelman had expected. His multiple barriers were all broken through, hardly even one of his defensive measures showed any effect. If not for that one defensive measure, there was a possibility that Adelman would have received a fatal blow at that moment. Though, it's kind of strange to say that he, who is already dead, would receive a fatal wound again. How? For him to penetrate my magic barriers as if he was ignoring them, does that mean that this guy's ability is actually magic nullity? Adelman had arrived to the correct answer instantly. It was fortunate that what Gadra had hinted at before came into his mind. If that's the case, he was correct in preparing a defensive measure other than magic. Oh well, after all, this magic will have exhausted my magic power. Whether it's magic nullity or anything else, it already doesn't matter. Rather it's convenient for me. Though he can't be said to be unharmed, his plan had succeeded. The great magic that Adelman had chanted activated without any problems. The invoked magic was called Immortal Legion. One of the ultimate magics that have a wide area of effect. Just like the word, Legion, in the spell name suggests, it was the highest level forbidden spell of undead magic which uses and turns the dead into soldiers. The magic transforms and turns the dead in this battle, regardless whether they were allies or enemies, into soldiers faithful to his command. Giants have a high regeneration power and don't die easily. because superficial injuries would be restored by themselves, it was necessary to destroy them completely. Therefore there was the need to wait for corpses to build up in the battlefield. Watching the state of the battlefield, Adelman had decided that it was the time to use the spell. For that reason he had concentrated in order to chant the magic. The bodies of the giants scattered on the ground were combined by the huge magic formation that appeared in the sky and on the ground into several lumps of flesh. Then limbs appeared from the lumps of flesh, and 4 meters tall giants were born. Death giants, that were one size larger than the Death Knights. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas to you all. And if you guys have not watched my earlier videos, then please watch them. The links are in the description. And please check out my other channel Top Anime Sensei for the light novel of Tensura. And don't forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss the updates.